Good afternoon, my name is Sam. I've been an online facilitator now for around about 10 years, but I'm pretty new to Zoom, if I'm being perfectly honest. I only actually learned this system just before we went into lockdown. But I'd like to share some of my findings with you. I've been very used to WebEx, Adobe Connect, Saba, all of those types of other platforms, but I think Zoom has got some great functionality. And one of the things I've noticed that facilitators really kind of find quite annoying is the annotation tools, and how when you've written on a whiteboard, for instance, they then move on to the slide when you advance it, and the annotations kind of go with you, if of course you forget to clear them down. So I thought, how can we actually utilize that anomaly, shall we say, or that frustration actually to our best advantage? So I've got an example here of an activity that I do in one of my face-to-face classrooms, which I've actually just converted to online. And the activity is very simple. Write down on a post-it note what you demonstrate when you listen. So I would then move to the whiteboard, and I would then encourage my delegates to write down on that whiteboard some points that they feel was particularly pertinent. So I'm just going to lean forwards because I've got my second screen here. And what I can also do is, as a facilitator, I can also write some points down as well. So I'll get kind of two of us writing them down. So let's just say, I don't know, eye contact, for instance. That would be on one post-it note. Let's get ZZ Sam over here writing something else. Let's just say, I nearly typed on my own keyboard then. Verbal nods is another one, and then that would flick off, and then of course we'd see that annotation come up onto the screen there. And if I just maybe select one more, just to show you, acknowledge that individual and kind of repeat back maybe the essence of some of what it is that they've said. But of course, if you had a group of people, you'd have lots and lots of post-it notes filled here. Now, of course, as a facilitator, a lot of the time when we've used a whiteboard in Zoom, we have to clear the annotations down before we move on to the next slide, because of course that then ends up on the next slide. And a lot of the time, facilitators tend to forget this. And this is the bit where I thought, hang on a minute, if I was in a face-to-face, I'd have them removing these post-it notes off one flip chart to actually go and put it onto the next. Now, part of their pre-work in this particular workshop is to have a look at the levels of listening. Now, in this particular occasion, we're going to have a look at the 5 levels of listening. So I would move the slide forward, which would actually leave the text on the screen, and then we could then ask the learners, okay, so eye contact, does that come under cosmetic, competitive listening? Where do you feel it sits? And a lot of the time we tend to find, could be maybe in there, or maybe in this one where you're acknowledging, and we could then fill all of those words that were just used from those post-it notes to bring it onto another flip, or of course another whiteboard, and actually help consolidate that piece of learning, because a lot of the time we don't tend to get down to that attentive or that compassion listening point as well. You could do it with anything, any topic where you would be moving one post-it notes off one flip chart, if you like, onto another. Give it a go. Let me know how you get on for the top tip of Friday afternoon. Thanks, guys, for listening. Have a great weekend.